Awesome. Welcome to our Winners Wednesday episode. I'm very, very excited for today's episode because I've got a good long-term friend of mine, Mr. Ryan Gattermeir. Good morning.
Good morning. Thanks for
Ryan's
having
joining us
me.
all the way from the Lake of the Ozarks in Missouri. I say good morning. It's good afternoon. I'm actually overseas in Egypt traveling, so we're hoping that the internet cooperates today. But with that said, Ryan, I'm really excited for today's episode because you've got such a diverse background when it comes to the real estate space. And so, do you mind just kind of giving us a brief overview of kind of your background and how you got into real estate?
Yeah, sure. I'd be happy to. Thanks for having me. I love being a winner on a Wednesday, so this is great. I don't get to be a winner all the time, so this is nice. Um,
Oh, come on.
yeah, I mean, it's live from. I've never been interviewed from Egypt before. This is great. So I feel like I'm on CNN or something. But anyhow, so basically, my story is this: my family. I'm from Lake of the Ozarks, Missouri. It's a resort area, one of the largest man-made lakes in the country. Primarily, my business is vacation homes, second homes, and also we do have obviously residential full-time residents here too. But a lot of condominiums, a lot of vacation properties, a lot of vacation rentals, things of that nature. Second home, third home, vacation home buyers. So that's the basic business that I'm in. But my business started, my family, my father was in the business since 1970 here. When he
Wow.
started, when he started, there was about 10 realtors in the whole area. Now we have about 800. So it's obviously the area has grown immensely since he started. I grew up in the business, grew up with my father being in real estate. My mother was in real estate as well, helping him. And we all kind of did a family thing. I'm an only child. So I went wherever they went. And grew up in that business, was determined when I graduated from high school that I was not going to just follow in my father's footsteps. Everybody expected me to do that. And I kind of wanted to try my own thing. So I went to college, left college, had a job in the corporate world, traveled all over the country. Was one of those, road warriors where you see in the airport pulling their suitcase and their briefcase, and wearing the suit. That was me for about 5 years. And
Wow.
I got burnt out, and I was only 25, 26 years old at the time. Had a great corporate job, and I literally just said one day, I said, I'm done. I can't keep up with this. Even at my age, I just don't want to do this forever. So I quit and called my parents and said, hey, I'm thinking about moving back to the lake, and uh, I want to sell real estate. So in
They were
2000,
excited, I bet.
yeah, they were like, oh, okay. So I packed up my then fiance, now wife, and her dog, and we moved from St. Louis, which was where I was based out of at the time, back to Lake of the Ozarks. And rest, as I say, is history. So it's been 22 years here. I've had my license since 1998, but because I
Wow.
did have my license, I got downsized out of a job. I had two corporate jobs. One of them I got downsized out of it, and I went ahead and got my license, and still was in the corporate world traveling. But then so anyway, I moved back here and started working for my dad, and then started my own company in 2008, and had that for about 9 years with two other partners that you know very well, Ed and Conda, Ed
Hmm.
Schmidt, Conda Davidson. And then we started uh, we started our own company from 2008 to 17, and then I joined EXP, and that's the latest chapter in this story. So yeah,
Well, that's awesome. So you mean to tell me there's hope? Because my oldest son, says now he's not going to get into real estate, which I hope he does. So
right.
I guess the story that there's some hope that he'll come back around, right?
Well, he can do whatever he wants, I'm sure, and hopefully he'll come back around and get into the family business like you. So he's got some good role models there for sure. So
That's
Yeah.
awesome. Well,
Yeah.
thank you. And for those of you that are watching, if you have any questions or, have any thing that you want us to kind of pinpoint, go ahead and I hope you like and comment below and we'll try to get to you. So Ryan, one thing that you didn't mention is, you guys had a $100 million brokerage, right? So you're all three of you, three partners are very high level top producers. So what would you say has been the key to your success? And I want to kind of highlight, you said you opened your brokerage in 2008, which if you guys remember, that's really the downturn of the market. So
Yeah.
I guess I'm asking two different questions. What made you open your brokerage initially in a down market? And then what's been the key for all three of you as business partners to have that huge success?
Right. Well, yeah, 2007, 2008, obviously, July of 2008 was the worst time that you possibly could have picked to open a new real estate brokerage. And there was a lot of people
Right.
that thought we were crazy, and we were crazy. And fortunately, myself and my two partners at the time, we're still partners in many other ventures, but they were, Conda in particular was also, Conda and I were the two top producers, really in the top five in our area. So, we had a fair amount of business, but yet it was still very tough for anybody that was into business. I don't care if you were a seasoned veteran or not. I mean, '08 was brutal, and '09 and
Right.
so on and so forth. So, it was, in hindsight, it was one of the best moves I ever made because, there are a lot of people were getting out of the business, and it opened up opportunities for those that hung in there and persevered and kept pushing forward. But there was some it was a little sketchy at times. I left and started my own brokerage for the reasons that I my father's business, he had a partner. I didn't want to necessarily follow in that manner with his partner, so I kind of had to do something. So I didn't have much of a choice in my mind, and then luckily Conda took me in, and we started together. And then Ed came along, and Ed wasn't even in the business, and then he quickly got his license, and then he brought his what he does, which is marketing and just being Ed in general, which is an awesome guy. So we started the company, and we did grow it. I mean, we just kept plugging along, and bit by bit we brought on some agents, and we had a local brokerage that actually shut their doors because of that, and we took some of their agents in. And grew the business that way. And we grew it to around, I want to say at the height, we had maybe 14 agents, 15 agents in a traditional brokerage,
Right.
70-30 splits, 80-20 splits, whatever the case may be, traditional brokerage where we were, providing everything and getting the split from the agents and that kind of thing. So it wasn't a team atmosphere at that point. It was just a boutique brokerage, independent. And, so we grew that to about 100, and I think our last year, 17 or 16, we did before we left for EXP, we did about 115 million in volume. So it was a really good business we had built, and we took it all apart and completely revamped it, or just blew it up and joined EXP, which again, just like in '08, everybody thought we were crazy. And Ed and Conda thought I was crazy because I'm the one that pushed them to do EXP. And luckily they hung in there with me, and I think they've been happy that they did so. They probably tell you the same thing. So
Yeah.
we just changed everything and retooled and refocused and started working in EXP. When I joined EXP, I also did it because there was no broker in the state, and I had to be the broker, and that was an experience to try to handle being a broker with a new brokerage in a state that was not very kind to this cloud-based brokerage idea and the models. And so it was an interesting year. 17 was tough. 2017 was
Right.
tough, but we got it we got it figured out, and obviously it's thriving in the state now, and it's been great. But yeah.
Well, yeah, and you guys have definitely built up, your organization, and I just want to mention, you mentioned at the height you had 14 agents doing 115 million. I mean, that's quite a bit, right? So you
Yeah.
guys were definitely high level producers, very much so pioneers. I don't know if you know your number with EXP, but pioneers. Just if you guys kind of take note, EXP was not even open in the state of Missouri yet. So Ryan essentially became the original state broker, opened up the entire state. What would you say? I mean, second generation real estate agent, then you opened up your own brokerage, in 2008 of all years, and then, shifted again to EXP. Not only did you shift and fold into EXP, but you're the original state broker. What would you say has been the number one key to your success?
Oh, can I say the word? Not giving.
You can say whatever you want.
Not giving a shit. Just doing what I want to do. And I'm sorry for the curse word, but not giving a damn, I guess I should say. And not listening to other people. I'm really good at not listening. I'm really good at that. Like, I just don't listen.
It's doing you well so far.
Yeah. And so just doing what I think I need to do and doing it. And so, I'm not very orthodox. I'm not going to sit here and tell you I've got some kind of magic theory or magic, process that I use. I don't. I mean, I'm a hot mess 90% of the time, but it just works. And so, but the key to my success, I would say, is in all seriousness, relationships. It's and growing those relationships, and remembering who your friends are, and remembering who can do what, not necessarily in a what's the word, a selfish way, like who can do what for me, but who does, like, what relationship do I have with what person, and what can that person gain? What can I do for them? Right. What's my value to them, and what's their value to me? And when I need something that person can that I feel like that person or persons can provide me, I'm going to go to them, and I'm going to try to have them help me. Right. And they know I'm there to help them. So having relationships with people, and this is the hard part, is keeping those relationships and making sure you don't forget about, making sure that you don't take them for granted.
Right.
And that's hard. It is hard. I've been known to take people for granted and take relationships for granted. And it's hard to keep that mindset of not taking it for granted and giving back to those people, and remembering that they need you for something too, just like you need them. So I think that is one of the keys to my success. Now, I don't know how I teach that or how you do it. You just have to kind of have the mindset of that. So that, and I would say probably being a resource too for my clients. A lot of my clients, obviously we all have good clients, and we network. And of course, after being in the business 20 years, I don't prospect a lot anymore. It's mostly referral. And so, but being a resource for people, being a resource for your clients, my clients know I have a lot of transient clients. They aren't here all the time. They're here for 3 or 4 months out of the year. Other times they're living at their main home or whatever, their primary home. So they're not here all the time. So being a resource for everything that they need, they know they can call me and I can help them, get something done or whatever with the property or whatnot. So being a resource, building relationships and keeping relationships, and understanding your relationships with key people, and not giving a damn is probably the key to my success. So there you go.
So the 2 R's, relationships and being a resource, right?
Yes.
And then not
Good. There are 2 R's. There you go. I should write a book, the 2 R's. There you go.
There you go. So, and I think it's really important to note, I mean, when you look at your partnership, and like you said, you guys are still partners with Ed and Conda, as you mentioned, for those of you watching, you may or may not know them, but you all bring something different to the table. And I think that's one of the reasons why your partnership has worked out so well.
Yes, we do. Yeah. And again, that's relationships, understanding, I know Conda, I know her limitations or her expertise. She knows my limitations, which are many, and my expertise, which may not be many. And then I know what Ed does. And Ed is, everybody has their skill set, And one of the things that we decided to do was to team up from a attraction standpoint. So we worked out a deal between the three of us as far as our attraction goes and our attraction efforts. And so it doesn't rely on just one person; it relies on all three of us. And so recruiting's hard. We all know that attraction's hard. Agent attraction's hard. It's not as easy as it always sounds, and it was a lot easier. It sounded a lot easier in 17 when I joined. I thought, oh, this is going to be so easy. I'm going to get everybody to join EXP. I'm going to be a Gattermeir and have a check every month and all that. Well, it's been good, but it's a challenge. And so, and having you guys, obviously, you and Hamoudi and your team is an absolute resource that I am extremely lucky. Everyone on this who's listening here, or if you're a part of the Mruwat network, then you are a lucky person, because you guys bring so much to the table. You do, and
I appreciate that.
So and you're right, and we don't even realize sometimes how much you bring to the table, and so I say thank you for that. So.
Well, likewise. And, we're blessed to work with incredible agents like yourself. So we couldn't have done what we've done without, like I said, it's a mutual relationship, right?
Yes.
So I want to kind of go back to 2017. I mean, you guys had a well-oiled machine, 3 top producers that are also business partners in an independent brokerage. Why uproot everything and move over to EXP, which at the time was not even open in your state?
Yeah, well, you're right. I think I have a number of 1,300 or 1,400 agent or something like that. I didn't.
Now we have 83,000.
Yeah,
just to give you a little perspective.
Right. No, I know. I think about that sometimes. And I was brought on by a guy named Russ Cafano, who and he was president of EXP at the time for a period of time there. And I actually tell this story too, that I met up with Russ at an Inman conference in San Francisco. And when I tell people this now, it's like this is a great story. So Glenn and Russ were at Inman, and they were just
Glenn, the founder of EXP, right?
Yeah, Glenn Sanford. And of course, I didn't know Glenn. I'm like, hey, Glenn, how are you? Whatever. And Russ introduced me, and we're talking, and it's an empty conference room, or empty. We're at Inman, and they had just finished a session or something, and it was just this big empty conference room or whatever. And he's like, well, Russ is like, I'm going to leave you with Glenn, and Glenn's going to talk to you about EXP. And so literally I got the EXP, Glenn pulls out his folder thing and does this, or no, I think it was on his laptop. I mean, we didn't have folder, but whatever, laptop, and goes through
the whole little techie. Yeah.
This EXP presentation. So I tell people, I'm like, yeah, I got the EXP presentation from Glenn Sanford. And everybody's like, no, he actually gave you the Glenn. You know Glenn? I'm like, yeah, I know. Well, we all know Glenn, but I mean, because he's such an approachable guy. But literally, he, so it's kind of hard to say no to EXP whenever Glenn Sanford gives you the presentation, right? So I mean, I'm sure you had the same thing at your, because you were way before me. So, but in seriousness, though, I mean, I don't know any agent that has experience in the business that can't that if you're an experienced agent in this business, I don't know how you could say no to EXP. I just don't get it. There's no way to say no to EXP. It's not for everybody, but it's certainly, if you have experience and you're a self-starter and you don't have to be a self-starter necessarily, but I mean, if you have any
entrepreneurial minded, I think,
sense whatsoever, you can't look at EXP and not go, well, heck, that's where I need to be. So it was a fairly easy decision for me. Of course, I had 2 partners that we had a very profitable and successful independent brokerage. So I had to come home from San Francisco, and I had to explain to my 2 partners, who were very happy with the way things were going. I was happy with the way things were going. We were making money. We were doing good volume, but I knew that wasn't going to go on forever, because partnerships over time, I mean, they change. I mean, things happen. I mean, it's not going to be, we're different ages, so things were going to change eventually anyway. So I thought we had to really restructure and retool, and EXP was the perfect, in my mind, at the time, and now was a perfect segue to what we had to do next. And so it took a while to convince them, as you've heard the story, I'm sure, in talking to them, that they thought I was absolutely insane. Again, they thought I was crazy. And so we figured out a way to make it work. And we retained all but one of our agents that we had when we had the independent brokerage. All but one agent stayed with us. And we just kind of transformed our office into more of a workspace. Like a work, kind of like a Regent workspace, kind of
Regis,
thing, where
right.
we they would rent space from us, and then we would still be together and have collaboration, but everyone kind of was working with EXP now, and obviously brought them into our rev share group and helped them understand how they could recruit or attract agents and build their own rev share. And that was, some of them have done very well with that, and has been a huge benefit. So it's it was a painful, I mean, I don't mean this because anytime you make a change like that, anytime
Oh
you
yeah.
change a brokerage, it's a painful experience. I don't care if it's EXP or Keller Williams or Century 21 or whatever. I mean,
And we had growing pains. I mean,
yeah,
2017 was right smack in the middle of
yeah,
that excessive growth that we had. So
yeah, right. And so it was, but it was the right thing to do. And again, we just pushed through and figured it out, and it's been a blessing for all of us that have done it. And so why do we do it? Because it was the right thing to do at the time. Did everyone see it that way? Probably not. But I just kept pushing, and so did Conda and Ed, and we made it work. So there were some days there where I questioned everything that I was doing and wondering what the hell I had done. I mean, I'd basically taken a very successful organization and just blew it up, and at some point there was no going back. I had to make it work. We had to make it
right.
work. So we did. So yeah.
Well, and like you said, it's all mindset. Nothing's ever going to transition perfectly, and especially in the growth of a fairly new company. But I love your story because not everybody can say that they got an EXP explained by the Glenn Sandberg.
I know,
Um,
right? Yeah, it's a
I
big
joined
deal.
back when we were 300 agents, and I remember the first time I sat down with Daryl, who's my sponsor. He
Yeah,
pulled up our virtual office, and Glenn was standing there with his avatar, and he started talking to me. I didn't even know what it was. I literally looked at Daryl and I said, am I supposed to talk back? Like, who is this person?
yeah,
So
yeah.
it's incredible, and especially to have that experience as one of the the first few. So I mean, one thing that I really want to also kind of highlight here is, for those that are watching and may not be familiar with this, yourself, Ed, Conda, you're all icon agents with EXP now, right? Which is a certain level of production where you've earned the money that you've paid in, the $16,000 cap, back in company stock every year.
Yeah.
Also, I know agents, I mean, you guys have a fairly large organization now in EXP. Kathy O'Neill in St. Louis, she's been
Mhm.
icon,
Yep.
I think, 4 years in a row. She actually just brought on Peter Liu, who's number 3 in their MLS. You guys have the Swift group, which I love seeing everything that they're doing
Yep.
on social media in their office. So it's not just about you guys anymore. You have agents that are now acquiring ownership in the company. So how has, really earning stock in a billion-dollar company, multi-billion-dollar company, changed the way that you've looked at real estate?
It's changed the way EXP has brought so many different facets to my life. I mean, the stock. I mean, my gosh, I mean, I don't care, at what point you get in. I mean, getting stock from a company for just doing what you do, and being successful and getting rewarded with stock is in the company, is unbelievable, and that's something that is so unique to EXP, and the fact that they've structured it the way that they've structured it, and have I don't care what the price of stock's at. I mean, the stock's going to come up and go down. It's not about that. It's about having ownership and them giving you ownership in the company for being successful and rewarding you. And that's something that no independent broker can do. And that's one thing. I'll back up for 1 second. One of the main things that Conda and I and Ed, whenever we decided to do this, is we asked ourselves, what can we do? Like, we couldn't give all of our agents, no matter how much they had given us as far as selling and being good agents for us, and helping us be successful and them be successful. We could never give them ownership in our independent brokerage. We just didn't have enough to give, right? So, I mean, we had to, we couldn't do that. So, I mean, one of the things that we really felt was strongly about was that we were able to give all these people that we cared about that were working for us the ability to have ownership in a company that we couldn't give them because it just wouldn't work. We just weren't the size to do that. So that is a huge part of what we made the change. And so having ownership, and I've gone off the rails here. I can't remember your other question. So I will, what was the original question?
No, I think the fact that you guys have been icon agents and earned stock every single year,
Yes.
how has that kind of changed the way that you've looked at real estate?
Yeah, the way I look at real estate is I look at it more like a more it's not just about me. It's about helping other people too, and it's about the whole atmosphere of EXP being collaborative and being part of a much bigger team and a much something being part of something bigger than yourself. I think is a lot of it, and having the power of being able to access people and ideas that I never could have done before. It's changed my perspective on not just real estate, but about business in general, so, if that makes sense. I mean, it's not just about changing my attitude of real estate or changing the way I look at real estate. It's changing the way that I look at my business life as in a whole. So,
I absolutely couldn't agree more. I think for us, it's really made us realize how, the whole opportunity is worldwide, right? I mean, like you said, we're here on vacation in Egypt, and today we're at the pool and we're talking to, we meet a broker that has 500 agents in Saudi Arabia. And so we're like, hey, stroke up that conversation and that relationship, right? So it really just gets you to think a million times bigger than probably what we would have done by ourselves.
Because you can. I mean, you have those resources, right? You could never be over there if you were in Oklahoma still with your own independent brokerage or working for, whoever you were working for at the time. You couldn't be over there and say, oh, I got Saudi Arabia. What would you have done? You couldn't have done anything with that before EXP, right?
Yeah. The conversation probably wouldn't have gone very far.
Nice to meet you. That's great, right? We'll see you when we're back in Egypt next time. I mean, you couldn't have done that, but you can. And I know you will, because I know Hamoudi's already down at the pool probably talking to him right now, right?
That's where he is. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I know that. I know how that works. So, but no, you couldn't have done that. You couldn't have done that before. I couldn't have done that. Nobody could until they had EXP and had the resources. I mean, I'm not recruiting outside the country right now. It doesn't mean I can't, and you have those resources. So that's a huge deal.
Yeah, 100%. And maybe for some, people that are either broker owners now or thinking about opening a brokerage, I think one thing that I want to mention, 7.5 years ago when we joined, we were same boat. We were going to open our own brokerage. But when we looked at what could we offer our agents in comparison to what EXP offered, which at the time was, a lot less than what they offer now. Now it's just, full on enterprise, right? I knew that I couldn't compete. I couldn't offer the ability of ownership. I couldn't offer the ability of, as you mentioned, revenue share and attraction, which now are in 22 countries. These are all the things. So I had to put my own ego to the side and realize that if I were to bring on agents, I needed to do what's in the best interest of them. So it sounds like you guys were kind of in a similar boat. With that said, I mean, top producers, you guys had, independent brokerage, moved over to EXP. Now you're top influencers within the company with a large organization. What's next? I mean, where are we going to see Ryan and Ed and Conda, which we'll have to have them as guests as well?
Yeah, you need to have them on too. They're way better than I am. So they're way winners. They're real winners. Yeah.
No, you guys are like like I said, perfect partnership, all different personalities.
Yeah.
Where are we going to see you guys in the future? I mean, what are some of your future plans?
Well, we need to get better at our agent attraction, and we are, trying to do that. Conda is always pushing Ed and I. She's pushing Ed and I really hard on the recruiting, and they've really done, quite honestly, a better job than I even have of recruiting, just because they, Conda is a machine, as you know, that she's a true machine.
She's a numbers girl.
She never stops. She never stops. And if she's on here, she knows that I'm probably talking about her. But, that she pushes us all the time. But as far as what our future holds and what the plans are, I mean, we are going to first and foremost make sure that our relationship stays in a good place, and that we are all giving what we need to give to each other as a partner. And I don't know that we have any crazy specific goals. I would say that it's just to ride out the wave of the market, continue to do what we do, make changes where necessary. But I mean, as far as the future holds, I don't know if any of us really have a true answer to that. We just kind of keep doing what we're doing and adjust accordingly, and use the tools that EXP is giving us. And we have so many tools out there that we can use and rely on EXP for the change, if anything's coming, a change in the marketplace. So I know that whatever we do decide to do, I know that we're going to have the resources with your group, and with EXP in general. For example, I mean, express offers, that's going to be a huge, as the market changes more to a buyer's market, it's going to be a huge thing. And if people aren't getting involved in that and taking that training, they're missing the boat, because that is going to be a huge tool for us as the market, if it changes the way that we're looking at. And I don't know. I mean, I stopped. Yeah, you can look at everything, and everybody has an opinion. So who knows what's going to happen? But you just got to be ready and have those relationships. Again, the 2 R's, right? Relationships. What was the other? Relationships and
resources and relationships.
Resources. Yeah, resource and relationships. Have those resources.
Yeah, and we're waiting for your book after this.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I got so much time on my hands. I'm gonna write a book next, but I will use that. That's a good line. I'm gonna keep that.
It might actually be the 3 R's, so we could say Ryan's relationship.
There you go. Yeah.
Well, and one thing that I really missed here that we didn't highlight is the fact that you're really, really involved not only in your local board but state, national. Can we kind of dive into that a little bit and how you got so involved?
Yeah, I'd say that's one of, you asked me what has helped my success, or whatever you want to say. I mean, I think that a lot of that is being involved, and I'm a big believer in giving back to the industry. I think that, and I don't force it on people, but I'd tell anybody who's on here listening and who's in a real estate association, that you at least try. The next time you see an email or a post on Facebook or whatever asking for people to be involved with their local board, I would definitely encourage people to at least give it a shot. And you might be surprised at the people you meet and the things you find out and the things that you learn. You don't have to be a psycho like me and end up as the president of your state association necessarily, which I did in 2017. But the relationships that I've made by being a part of my local and state, and then also on the national level, on being on the board of directors for NAR, it's a commitment. You have to travel some. You have to, if you really want to do it, you have to go to the meetings, and you have to go to the annual conventions and things like that. But the amount of relationships that I've made, and the amount of, I didn't do it for this reason, but the amount of referrals and business that I glean off of that is definitely been a big part of my business, has been successful. So, I would tell people, you don't have to, you can give it any level you want your time, but I would ask people to I would encourage them to take at least an opportunity to be involved with the local or state or national or all 3 associations, or be on a committee or something, just so you can understand how this industry works and you can see it from a different perspective. I'm a huge RPAC, contributor. I'm a our President's Circle contributor. I give money every year to that, because I know how it works, and I know what it does for our industry, and people don't realize the challenges that we have at the political level, at the legislative level, that affect our business every single year, that things that don't pass and don't get through and turned into law because we fight them and we stand up for realtors. So that's a huge thing too. So, give to RPAC and because it matters to our business, and try to learn or try to get involved in some level on the state level. And that's been huge for me. You may not like it. That's fine, but at least give it a shot. So.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. And I mean, just wow. 2017, president of state association, opened EXP in Missouri, left your independent brokerage, opened up EXP Missouri, was a state broker, all while being a top producer and an icon agent with EXP. I mean, come on, guys. So
I wasn't
I
wasn't as top a producer that year as I had been in other years. That was a tough year, 17, but
you had a lot going on, right?
Right. Yeah. But,
so, for agents that are watching this, whether they're watching it live or maybe even a replay, and they'd like to learn about EXP and how you and your team kind of operate and learn from you, what's the best way for them to reach out to you?
Oh, anybody can give me a call or an email anytime. My phone number is 573-746-0133, and email me at ryan@ryansells.com. So anybody can, just Google me, you'll find me. So there aren't many Gattermeirs out there. So you can get a hold of me, and I'm happy to talk to anybody anytime. Or if anybody's thinking about making a switch to EXP, or has a small brokerage or independent brokerage and wants to talk about how we did it, myself or Con or Ed, all three of us will be happy to talk to them. So.
Yeah, no, great advice. I mean, I would definitely recommend, because brokers, there's a lot of brokers that are looking to basically join and partner with EXP. So I definitely recommend they reach out to you.
Yeah.
You've got a lot of great advice. You've got some great leadership, especially being the original state broker. So would definitely recommend that they reach out to you and look at a potential partnership. So with that said, I know we went a little bit over today, but it was a lot of great information.
I talk a lot. Yeah, sorry.
No need. It was a lot of great information. So I was really excited to have you on here today. And like I said, we'll get Ed and Conda as a follow-up. But with that said, I really appreciate you guys, and we miss you. We're excited to see you in October.
Yeah.
And for anybody that's thinking about traveling to the Lake of the Ozarks, we've been there. They're very welcoming. I'd highly recommend it.
Come on down. We'll take you for a boat ride.
They do for sure. Thank you so much, Ryan. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Take care. Thanks, Micah.
You as well. Bye.